Howdy y'all. So much has changed. I don't even know where to start. So I believe in miracles, but it's not very often that one actually happens to me. And you will notice I am going to be moving around a lot better in this video, and I changed my hair too. Just it's red. Love it. It's pretty. Anyway, I like it. I hope y'all like it too. Let me know in the comments if I screwed it up or not. But in the meantime, let's focus today. Today's video. I will do a video in the future very shortly. I'll be honest, guys. I'm terrified. I am astounded. I am shocked. I am amazed. God is glorious. That's all I know to say right now. But until I kind of get all my words together, I'm just going to focus on life and enjoying what God has given me recently. And I hope it makes the videos better. Today, we are going to focus on pumpkins. I've been promising y'all some pumpkin videos, so today we're going to start with the very, very basics. Now, we did a pumpkin cheesecake for some of my more experienced cooks, I guess you could say. It's a fairly simple cheesecake recipe, but it does take a little bit more practice, a little bit more experience. If you're starting off brand new and you have never worked with a fresh pumpkin in your life, and this year you broke down and you grew your own pumpkins. So you're gonna have your normal looking pumpkins that are shaped like the ones you see in the store, okay? So they're just a normal looking pumpkin. But you're also going to end up with your occasional oddball shaped pumpkin. Now these are still usable, they still taste great, they're sweet, and they taste wonderful, just like any other fresh pumpkin. And you can prepare them in the same way as the normal shaped pumpkins, but if you don't know how to do that in the first place, that's a problem. So today, we're going to learn. So let's start with the actual pumpkin. Now, what you're going to want to do is cut the pumpkin open. So if you've ever made a jack-o'-lantern, you're already familiar with this process. Basically, you just cut the top off the pumpkin and you lift it off. Now, I'm not going to prepare this one today. Set it aside. We are going to take this big one here because I need the puree. Because after we're done actually cooking the pumpkin and getting the pumpkin pulp out of it, we're going to turn around and turn this pumpkin into your basic pumpkin pie. So, for a big pumpkin like this one, you'll notice that it's not shaped normal, so it's going to be rather difficult to, I can't like stand it on its foot. You know, that's obviously not going to work. So, what we're going to do is we're going to find the flattest side and just lay it down on that, and then pick the top part, and we'll basically do the same thing. We're just going to pretend like the stem is in the top center here, and we're going to cut the hole out. So let me get this camera where y'all can see that a little better. Okay, I think that'll work very well. So, you're going to need a big knife. Notice I've got it on a tray. That's so that once it's carved, it's easier to pick up and manage. I don't want to just put those direct in. By the way, this is okay. If you've got something like this on your pumpkin, it's no big deal because you're not using the skin. And if you're not turning it into a jack-o'-lantern, nobody's going to see it anyway. So, alright. For y'all's sake, I'm going to go ahead and outline where I'm going to cut so you can kind of see. The idea is to just make enough space to get your hand in there and to get a spoon in there. So, alright, you take your knife and just pretend you're Freddy Krueger and go for it. Cut yourself. It's better to turn the knife away from yourself and do not put your hand in front of it. And notice I'm going at an angle. That's so that when I am done, I can put the lid back on. Loosely around where your line is. And then when you get to the end, you just cut it. And it'll just pop out. Alright. pumpkin seeds. That's what the bowl is for. So the next step is to scrape the pumpkin seeds out. You just start with the lid here and get all the stringy pulp. It's not really good. It doesn't cook up great. And all those seeds. And set that aside, and you do the same thing with the inside. Just scrape all those seeds out. These seeds right here are great for roasting, and you can just separate them out and you can hang on to them, and then you can salt them and let them dry out and then roast them. We're not gonna worry about that today. I'm actually just gonna roast these up for my chicken. So for now, I'm just gonna set them aside. Do not give raw pumpkin seeds to your chickens. It's not good for them. They need to be roasted. Done, it'll look like that. Just hollowed out, just like if you were carving it for a jack-o'-lantern. You want to try to get any stringies that pop up and go nice and clean. So the next step is to take some butter that you've already got, like room temperature. This is super soft butter, and that's okay. And we're just going to rub it all over the inside of the pumpkin. And just coat the inside of the pumpkin with the butter. And this was about 3 tablespoons for this big old pumpkin here. Remember to reserve a little bit for your lid. Top here. Coat it too. Alright, and it'll look like this. All buttered and smooth and ready to go. And then we just put our lid back on, and it will only fit one way, and that's the way it came off. Just like that. Now, the whole thing needs to go in the oven at 375, and what you're looking for is for it to get really soft. So when you can take your finger and lightly press on the outside and it's squishy, it's done. Now I expect this pumpkin to take about maybe an hour, hour and a half, 2 at the most. So let's find out. I'm going to get it in the oven and get it started, and then when it's done, we'll pull it out and look at it, and then it's time to make a pumpkin pie. Now, if you are planning on canning your pumpkin, then you don't want to puree it. What I'm doing is actually preparing the pumpkin all the way to the point where we can use it immediately in pies and cakes and breads and things like that, which means it's going to be super soft and squishy. If you're canning pumpkin, you really want to just cut your time. In fact, I just checked. It's been in there for about 30 minutes at 375. And right now, if I was canning pumpkin, I would be yanking it out and I would be slicing it just like you would a cantaloupe into wedges. And then I would skin those wedges and dice it into chunks, and that would be ready to can. And the only reason that you would cook it at all for canning purposes is to soften the skin up and make it easier to peel. But again, in our situation right now, we are preparing the pumpkin all the way to the point where we can start using it right away. We're about halfway there at 30 minutes. Sometimes the best things in life aren't pretty. This is an example of that. Let me show you. It's been an hour. Our pumpkin is out. And it looks really good as far as ready to use. But remember, this pumpkin is ready to use. It's really, really soft. It is mash ready. Like, it's probably gonna mash as we're taking it out of the shell. But when you take your pumpkin out, it's not pretty. It's kind of ugly. Let me show you. Here we go. Yeah, like I said, not pretty. Your pumpkin might look better than this. It actually doesn't matter if it collapses or not. That's not the sign that it's done. What you're looking for is if it's nice and soft and squishy, and you can see this is just perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. So what we need to do now is remove the top and start scooping out the flesh and see how much we get. Let's get to it. All right, here we go. Pumpkin's still warm. It took about 50 minutes altogether. And you can see there's a lot of juice in here. You can get that juice out if you want, or you can save it. But the best thing, and this is why you do this, is it just scoops off of there so easy. All right. Another thing you can do is you can actually go ahead and cut the pumpkin open. Because again, we're not turning it into a jack-o'-lantern or anything. So if we cut this and kind of butterfly it out or petal it out, you know, like a flower, make the petal bloom, I guess. There you go, make the petal bloom. Make your pumpkin bloom. And it just opens up. And now I can easily just access and scoop. And I can just hold the skin. Get to the top there, just cut that chunk out. You don't want that. And you see it just peels right out of there, real easy. And then that can just be scooped up. And if I want to get rid of this moisture, I can by just basically straining it and letting it strain off. And this is another reason to do it on a nice cookie sheet, is because that cookie sheet, in this case it's a pizza pan, but it's a nice deep one, will actually catch the extra juices so you don't make a mess all over your counter or work surface. And just scrape out all the flesh of the pumpkin. If you come across a spot that's hard and just like that, just scoop around it. Don't even worry about it. You don't want that. It's just a bad spot in the pumpkin, no big deal. Whoop. And there it is. Okay, let's see how much pumpkin we got. There's a lot of pumpkin right in there. That is a good deep bulk. Filled it up about halfway. You see a lot of that juice right in there. That'll just strain right off. So I'm going to throw this in a strainer, strain off the juice, and then we're going to take our blender and puree it the rest of the way. And we've prepared our pumpkin for use in pumpkin pies or breads or other pastries. Yay! And then it's on to the good stuff. Then we get to make a pumpkin pie. I love pumpkin pie. Yay! While you're straining, you want to kind of break it up with your spoon, and you want to look for these. These are just these long stringers. They're really fibrous and they don't break down very good. Go ahead and pull those out and separate off any pulp that's on them, so that what you're left with is more of a chunky, squishy, potato type pulp that's left. Some stringers are okay, little bitty fine ones, but if you see just heavy, almost looks like gristle on meat, go ahead and get those out of there. Okay, we've got it strained. We have it in a bowl. And it's okay if it's got a little bit of juice in there. You just don't want it to be like soupy. So we're gonna get this blended up and softened and all squishy, and then it's ready to use. That's simple, just that simple. Here we go. I don't know if y'all can tell or not. I just took a pumpkin bath and my phone and wall is covered in pumpkin. Oh my God. Gotta see this here. Yeah. I'm gonna get this cleaned and then we'll make a pumpkin pie. That we can do without making too much of a mess. Gone ahead and preheated my oven to 450 degrees. We're going to actually have two different temperature settings. The first one will be 10 minutes at 450, and then we'll turn it down to 350 and bake it another 20-30 minutes or so. Okay, before we get started actually putting the pumpkin pie together, we need to know what the ingredients are, so let's take a look at that. Okay, so I've gone ahead and got my pie crust together. I sprayed the glass pie pan, and then you just place it down in there and do your edges. And I just do this with my fingers. I put 2 fingers together on the top and the thumb on the bottom, and then just squeeze, and then you just go all the way around to do that, and that's how you create that edging. Just go ahead and get that ready. Now, the first thing is, of course, our pureed pumpkin. Now, you'll notice I've strained it really, really good, so there's no juice, and there's 2 cups, heaping cups of pumpkin measured out. I've got 1 cup of evaporated milk, and then over here, you can see this is brown sugar. This is 3/4 of a cup packed brown sugar. So really just pack it into the measuring cup. We've got some spices. We've got cinnamon, which is a full teaspoon, salt, and nutmeg down there on the bottom, and those are a 1/2 teaspoon each. We've also got some vanilla and some maple extract. That's 3/4 teaspoon of vanilla and 1/4 teaspoon of maple. Now, I would normally use 3 large eggs, but I don't have 3 large ones, so I'm using 4 medium eggs. And over here, you see this is a 1/4 cup. That is just actual maple syrup. So that's it. That's all you really need. Now, let's go ahead and start putting it together. All right, so let's start by going ahead and getting our egg in the blender. Notice I'm using the blender this time. I'm hoping to make a little bit less of a mess. So we're gonna start by whipping our eggs, and then we're gonna add our other ingredients in order, and we'll pause and go through each of those as we do. That's good. You wanna whip them until they're really good and soft. And then we're going to add our milk and whip that together. Remember, that's 1 cup of condensed milk. We're adding it to those 3 large eggs. Next is our extracts. And that's 3/4 a teaspoon of vanilla and a 1/4 teaspoon of maple. Now we're going to add our pumpkin. So in the pumpkin goes. It's pumpkin. That's 2 cups of cooked pureed pumpkin. And just start off slow and then go faster on this. Now we're going to go ahead and add our maple syrup. And it is totally normal for it to look very, very loose. Now we finally get to add something other than a powder. We're going to add our brown sugar and our seasonings at the same time. Doesn't matter, just together. Start off slow and then speed up. I need to get a splash guard. They make these splash guards for KitchenAid. My sister has one. See, the year after I got my KitchenAid, they came out with the standard issue, and I just have not broke down and bought one as an attachment, as an extra attachment yet. And that's why my KitchenAid makes such a mess. So let's look at this and what it's supposed to look like here. Voila. Nice and smooth and creamy. And now all we got to do is take it over here and pour it into our pie shell. So let's go ahead and get that together. And just pour it on in there. And yes, it's going to be very, very runny. That is perfectly normal. And it's fabulous. It's a little bit of brown sugar there that didn't get blended in. No biggie. The end of the world, won't change a thing. And that's ready to go in the oven. So we're going to put that in the oven at 450 for 10 minutes. And then We're gonna reduce the heat down to 350 and it'll go another 30 minutes and then it'll be done. It'll still be really, really wiggly loose and it'll set as it cools. So let's go ahead and get this in the oven. Really full. That's the hard part, is getting it in without spilling it and making a huge mess. Not one drop. Yay! Alright. Close that up. 10 minutes. Okay, so now we just turn it down to 350. It's already there. And we're going to set our timer for 30 minutes. There we go. Now one thing, when you check it at this point, you do want to look at the edges, and if they're already golden brown, like this one is perfect really, then you want to cover those edges. So I've got some little silicone covers I'm going to use. You can also use foil, just a little strip of foil and wrap it around the edges. You just want to be careful and not get it in the pie itself. My silicone sleeve. You can get these at Amazon. And just like I said, just keep it up so it's not actually in the pie. I kind of goofed a little bit, so we'll see. But happy with it. Looking good. You know what that sound means? They're done. Yay. Oh, it's done. Okay, so I'm going to get the pumpkin pie out and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, let's take the silicone thing off of here. It's plenty warm. Ow, ow, ow. Hot, hot, hot. And that's what it should look like. Now, I fully expect the center to collapse a little bit. I'm hoping we don't develop too many cracks. But there it is. That's how you bake your basic pumpkin pie. And when you take it out of there, you'll see it's still a little, I'm trying to show you, it's wiggly. It's a little wiggly, just a little wiggly. There we go. And that's good. That's a good thing. Okay. Yay! Celebration. Alright, I'll stop being goofy. I'm in a little bit of a goofy mood. I like it. Pumpkin pie is like one of my favorite things to make. It is so simple and so easy. You almost can't go wrong. You've just got to get the ingredients right, the proportions right, and your temperatures right. And okay, it's not the easiest thing on the planet, but this is about as easy as it gets for pumpkin pie. So I'm going to let this cool, and we're going to slice it up and see how we did and taste it and just enjoy life. Once your pie has cooled down to room temperature, that's when you go ahead and put it in the refrigerator to chill the rest of the way. It will get more and more firm as it goes along, and it will take about an hour or so. And once it's chilled, it's ready to eat, and we're going to try it. Okay, it's been in the refrigerator and it's nice and cool. I'm going to cut it up and we're going to serve it and see how it turned out. Want some pumpkin pie? He knows good stuff. Do you want some pumpkin pie, Floyd? I love you. You can't have my pumpkin pie. It turned out absolutely spectacular. Like totally perfect. This is great. Now I will tell y'all, I did end up having to put it back in the oven for another 20 minutes at 400 degrees. This was just basically to let it finish. My pumpkin was really moist. So if you're using canned pumpkin, or if you're using pumpkin, just strain it off more and you won't have to go through that. But if it's wet like mine was, and you cut into your pumpkin, you're like, oh, it didn't set up right, just bake it another 20 minutes or so at 400 degrees. Be sure to cover your edges so it doesn't burn, and it will turn out beautiful. You can see like there's just the least little browning right there, which is fine. It won't affect the flavor at all. So let's taste it. Okay, here goes nothing. Oh. That texture turned out really good. I'm already liking it. Let's see.
I can't think.
The first thing you taste is that pumpkin, like boom, right there. But then the maple comes out and it is just creamy. It's smooth and soft and moist. Haha.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah. I love this recipe. It is so simple and so just rich and decadent and just, like I said, creamy and wonderful and just packed full of the pumpkin and that maple. It really, really, really is perfect. So I really hope you try this out. If you try out this recipe, I want to know how it works for you. Did you use fresh pumpkin? Did you use canned pumpkin? What did you try out? What worked best? Like, let me know all the goods and ins and outs of your experience. And then I also want to know what you think of my hair. I worked hard on this, and I hope you like it. I promise I'm going to do a video here pretty soon explaining what happened, how am I moving around better, all of that good stuff, and I want to introduce you to some really great people when I do that. But more on target with the pumpkin theme that we've got going on here lately. Next time we are going to do a video on pumpkin bread and pumpkin muffins. So we're going to do a couple of different pastries, and then our last video is actually going to be on a pumpkin dip for chips and crackers, or vegetables. If you want to dip your celery in it, it works really good for that. And then we're in that same video, we're going to stuff a pumpkin with a wild rice mixture, something that is just a really great addition to your holiday dinner if you want to use it for Thanksgiving. So be sure, if you haven't already, subscribe. It's right there down at the bottom. Just hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. The reason for that is not only does it help me grow and know what I'm doing right, but you will get posted when those videos come up. Now, I don't post that often, and I up to this point have not posted on a regular schedule. So really, it's the only way to know they're there and ready, unless you're on one of the group chats that I share with and things like that. So I hope you liked the video, and if you do, give me a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for joining me, y'all.